My wife Avery and I have been married for 11 years now, and we're both 40. When I went to college, I went to a local school, and I also had a substantial scholarship. In addition, I lived at home and my parents didn't charge rent, and I had a part-time job at a pizza joint. While I got a business degree and worked my way up in management, so I could learn the ropes. I have grown on my own. I've worked in busy bistros, 5-star gastronomies, cozy jazz cafes, hotel restaurants, neighborhood restaurants, tourist traps, you name it. Avery was my colleague back then. We both felt we were good for each other, and we eventually got married. With her suggestion, I did a part-time MBA as well, scored enough to get a degree. Now I have a business restaurant that's adjacent to some common areas seated around a playground. There's a fast food place opposite of us and some other food options, the big food chains close by. Safe to say, I've built a decent customer base. Like I said before starting the business, I worked in multiple eateries. That took several years and allowed me to learn about, a lot about running a restaurant. We gradually became popular, constantly featured in one publication or another, and solid, continual marketing, and just decades of experience between my business partner and me, which, by the way, was an old friend. We have solid contracts with restaurants all over the city, a popular choice for wedding receptions, and we even have a massive Facebook following and Insta. Over a 500 5-star review on Google, Yelp, and Facebook. We go on 1 hour plus waits on Friday and Saturday nights, and the main reason we use local produce, and that is our USP. Great menu, multiple cuisines, great cocktail list, 150 of them, and a great wine list. 200 labels in the cellar, mostly private imports, don't you know? Well, here's the issue. Avery has a brother. We've always had a bit of a rivalry going on, but it's been mostly because of his jealousy of my business and my short-term development and public support for my restaurant. We live in the same metro city, but have our own lives and don't see each other too often. He's actually my wife's half-brother and believes that he is a god amongst men. He's 4 years younger than us and has spent his entire life trying to prove that he's, quote, better than his sister. Little tiny accomplishments over her until the horse is dead type deal. He's in a band with a bunch of teenagers and basically only hangs out with people 5 years he's younger. He's far from any definition of maturity. From the day I got engaged with my now wife until now, he's also gone out with his way just to make me feel unwelcome. He made it very clear that he does not like me and believes Avery is, quote, throwing her life away by being with me. This, of course, makes absolutely no sense. I'm successful, I have 2 degrees. Avery has had some trouble keeping a job, but she's, pretty good job right now with excellent job security. When we got engaged, he did not congratulate us or do any nice gestures for us. He skipped our engagement party and did not seem happy for us in the slightest. At our wedding, he showed up with a card that had a dollar bill in it. The reason I'm pointing this out is because he has great money, but this felt like a duck you, bro, right to our marriage. When mother-in-law asked him about this, his reply was that he doesn't want a brother-in-law whose attention is to run the happiness. Well, I mean, why would I care that much about my wife's brother who I barely know? For context about what he meant, he's referring to his birthday. When I and Avra were dating, he had been raving about this restaurant that he absolutely loves for months. Well, he goes there at least once a week and is friends with the staff. It becomes his place. He decided to celebrate his birthday there and just invited me along with a bunch of his friends. On the day of the party, I got there early and was absolutely appalled at what I saw. The kitchen, it was nothing more than filthy. Ugh, disgusting. The food was clearly not fresh and the overall hygiene was just terrible. With my background, I could tell that it was not up to par. I didn't want to ruin his birthday and go all kitchen nightmare on him, so I didn't say anything at the time. After the party, I could not get it out of my head. I decided to report the restaurant to the local health department, and They did an inspection and shut the place down due to multiple violations. Mark was devastated when he found out, and he eventually figured out that I was the one who reported them. Now he's furious with me, saying that I ruined his favorite place and that I should have just let it go because it's one bad day for them, and that no restaurant's perfect every single day. Well, I did feel terrible for causing him pain, but I also felt like it was the right thing to do. People could have gotten seriously sick from eating there, and I just could not ignore it. It wasn't even a month before Mark opened his own restaurant. Fine dining almost the same as mine, and in the same street my restaurant's on. Getting into a business without any actual experience, it's unwise. I tried telling him this, but he wouldn't listen. He should get a job in a restaurant, try it for a while, learn a bit, and if he still loves it, then he could give it a shot. He was like, he has more capital from inheritance than what I had, but even if I had $1 billion, he doesn't understand. He has to still successfully work every position in a restaurant. I mean, including especially management and general manager before opening one. Also, staffing is a nightmare in this business. I know 2 businesses locally that folded due to not being able to keep dependable help. I've seen tons of other restaurants come and go, and it's more than a full-time job. As the owner, we're always on call. We work more than 40 hours a week, and I also told them that health department permits are a whole thing. Then, insurance, general business liability insurance, and then insurance on the vehicle. I mean, come on, you name it. It goes on and on and on. The expenses right down to the packaging and the credit card processing fees. I mean, a few weeks after the grand opening of his restaurant, here he is, asking me if I could just ask my partner to create a website for their business. He previously had created a couple of blogs and knew his way around WordPress, but only with basic themes and plugins, not a custom-built website. He spent countless hours working on it, and the website turned out great, but no thank you or what's the total cost or even a free meal. I was not too bothered by it since I know it's doing well for their business. His restaurant was typically busy on Thursdays and Sundays, whereas I was more spread out through the week. Friday, Saturday being the peak times. He had developed a decent number of followers in the area. As expected, his business eventually failed, though, but not before he put his house as collateral as a loan. His sales were not good, averaging $15,000 a week. Food service already had pretty low margins, and I probably see 8% profit maybe. Now that small amount had been eaten away at the cash advance payments that he took out to keep the business afloat. $150 gets withdrawn out the account daily to pay back once advanced. And Monday through Friday, 8% of his sales or DoorDash goes to the loan. 13% of Square sales gets taken to pay a loan, and he'd been left with nothing. Avery says that he never saved any money the entire time, and he just put everything he made back into the business. Not paying attention to payroll taxes, he had $2,000 taken out that he did not set aside. Bank gets overdrawn from all the payroll deposits, $400 in overdraft fees. I mean, come on. He now had no money to cover. Every week the profit that was left goes to bring the account out of the negative balance, and his food costs are insanely high, 42%, and has way too many employees. His business is under an LLC. Let's just call it Biz 1 LLC, for instance. He's the sole owner. There's so much more that's required for a successful restaurant besides good food. He wasn't that good, but not bad either, by the way. His inheritance was gone in a year. Every time a crisis came up, he would pour money in to just fix it. I recall one time, he was siphoning off his fiance's large pot of money behind her back, trying to keep the restaurant afloat. The fiancé ended up losing it all, and she should not have trusted him so much just because he was going to become her husband. He blew through the entirety of their shared finances in a large chunk of what should have been her separate account, which she specifically noted to the bank that he should not have been able to access it, all behind her back, forcing her signature and telling her that the restaurant's doing fine. She only found out how bad it was when she got an accountant to look at the books. which he and his shady friend tried to book. Well, they tried to cook it badly. After one too many times being gaslit, I guess he has a couple of properties under his belt for rentals. He still lives in one unit and struggles to pay his bills because he mortgaged all the properties over again to run the restaurant. Well, my other in-laws did renovations, worked the dish pit, and handled all the paperwork for him. Anything that was needed to support the family business is what he called it. They even spent so much money on advertisements and marketing. If the management and services are lacking, no amount of marketing is going to sustain the business. I tried to tell him, but hey, that's just business 101. Either Mark needs to find new suppliers, alter the menu, or raise his prices. As for labor, he's doing 80 work weeks in a small place and still sitting at 25%, which seems high. That can be fixed by making a more streamlined menu. He needs to check his costing software and pull his biggest losers from the menu, and focus on the items that have made a name for themselves and are winners in terms of cost and turnover times. Back to basic solid businesses practicing. He doesn't need a team of 3 managers to lead an average food business. Before I could go and help him out, though, he started giving me trouble. Literally, giving me lip. My business is 100% legal, I have all my permits, and my best friend is an actual employee. And I have a cousin who helps me with all the regulations since I obviously pay him too. When he walked past each other on the street, he made a small comment to me before he left to work saying, "It must be nice getting money without any troubles." Well, I laughed and I did not correct him. Well, after that comment, a few weeks later, I got a random inspection, Obviously I passed, but I felt disrespected, especially coming from somebody in the industry who knows what it's going to do to a business now. We would figure something else out, but at the moment it felt like my business just took a beating. I immediately stormed to his restaurant and asked, "What the hell was that inspection about? Did you really think it was a good idea to mess with my business?" He asked me if it was a good idea to embarrass him in front of his customers, and I angrily left. He then constantly harassed us, notifying government officials of supposed storage issues only to find nothing wrong. Apart from the variety of inspections he sends, by the way, all of which were passed with no problems, threatening letters, phone calls about how he's going to, quote, "bring me downtown." A few days since then, all of our dishes tasted differently. I've gotten a couple of bad reviews on it, and I just assumed it was a supplier who somehow messed something up. I approached some new supplier, and they delivered perfectly. Everything was fine until a couple of days later, the problem starts back again. I decide to set up a small camera in the restaurant kitchen area. I looked into the camera memory, and I see an employee pouring something weird into one of the bowls. He was a new employee, and I knew whose payroll he was on. I'd already spoken to a lawyer, and they said there isn't a whole lot they can do, as he pretty much covers his track each time, and at the end of the day, the advice was to let it die down. I honestly believe he thinks every misfortune is a direct result of my business. If he loses a customer, I think he believes I stole them. Despite the fact that I'm just one of 5 other eateries in my area, it's some weird personal vendetta fueled by his delusion that I somehow ruined his favorite place, even though my intention was good. I also hear accusations about me, and he starts spreading false rumors that my restaurant is advertised as local and farm to fork, whereas it isn't. When a few customers and a small-time YouTuber asked me this, I told all of them, we never say, quote, "we source locally whenever possible because we always use local produce, and that's how you get the taste. You won't get it anywhere else." Unexpectedly, I got good support from them, including the people who commented on the YouTube's video. I felt grateful. Instead of getting caught up in a petty little family feud, my partner Dylan and I wanted to do something impactful about this issue. So, we decided to invite the local food critics and influential bloggers to the restaurant from around town. We gave them an open invitation to come unannounced and scrutinize our establishment to the max. Well, people were buzzing about the audacity of my challenge. The first to call us was a well-known food critic known for his discerning palate and meticulous reviews. I was obviously scared. We provided him with an exclusive tour of our kitchen and very carefully explained our commitment to using locally sourced ingredients. He observed our operations closely, from food preparation to plating, and then he tasted our eggplant parmesan, and there was a thoughtful expression on his face. He smiled, told us he actually loved it. He also appreciated the authentic experience we've given him. Following days, a number of YouTubers and vloggers, well, they came flooding to the restaurant saying, "Hey, if Matt loved your food, we gotta try it." I engaged in conversation with some of them about the importance of supporting local farmers and businesses while also showcasing our farm-to-fork motto. We even let the state officials and food industry experts interview our chefs, restaurateurs, farmers from where we source, etc. And I had the foods genetically tested, and it became clear to everyone. We hosted a series of exclusive events called Behind the Kitchen Doors, just to give customers an inside look into our operations. They witnessed firsthand the meticulous attention to detail, the carefully sourced ingredients, and the passionate team behind each dish. It was an opportunity to build trust, get rid of rumors, and reinforce our commitment. The week was not over, and we had more people booking with us, even for breakfast. Many of them tell me how they liked my confidence and how the food is so fresh and how every restaurant owner should learn from me to be 100% transparent. I knew that we created a buzz in the city, but I did not expect people to be this curious to learn the truth themselves. The very rumors that were meant to bring me down had inadvertently provided me with free publicity. When some media approached Mark after all this, asking him for a response about how critics feel my restaurant's better than his, he stupidly made an offhanded comment about how useless food critics are, how their job just does not serve nor benefit anybody. When the man said that every job deserved respect, he scoffed and retorted, "If you're getting paid to eat like a freaking pig, and people are just being put out of business, you don't deserve any ounce of respect." Everyone has a different palate, and food critics should not tell you what to like. You're essentially giving one person's opinion much more weight than it deserves. Anyways, what kind of job is being a food critic? Actually, it's a great job. You're feared by chefs and for some reason respected by pony types who have no opinion of their own. But seriously, you eating for a living. This video got more popular than my restaurant. You can imagine how viral it went. His logic is messed up about food critics, and if everyone has a different palate, then how come some restaurants do consistently better than others? Anyways, his comments absolutely backfired, further highlighting the contrast between his attitude and my dedication to customer satisfaction. Now, Mark accuses me of profiling from his idea and ruining his business altogether. What the heck? I'm not interested in starting some weird war, and I don't want to get into stupid fights with a competitor. I just want to run my business in peace. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story is insane. What a rivalry we have boiling. Restaurants back to back. The fuel for who's going to retain the top on the street. It looks like OP is doing a great job, allowing everybody to come in. What a genius move. Guys, there is 4 updates for this story. I'm excited to hop into update number 1 because it has a little bit of a twist and a turn. If you guys are new to the channel, just go ahead and do me a favor and click that subscribe button for daily videos. It's the best way to support me, and I appreciate it. Here is your update. Thank you. We are doing our best. Even though we are competition because we're another restaurant, we focus on a niche that he doesn't. So it's not as though we're targeting his customers. He's just off his rocker. He's recently taken to Google to leave a false review that I can't get taken down despite all my best efforts, and it's the review that shows up first. We only just got him to stop posting on our business Facebook and trying to slander us, and by that I mean I had to disable comments, but it works so fine. I'm afraid that responding in any way to these weird attacks will just bring people's attention to it, and there's no way to come out of it not looking petty. I have a good standing in the community, and I have a great reputation now, so while he is not doing a lot of damage currently, I'm afraid if he picks away at it long enough, he will. It seems like preventing the situation from going any further will be a lot better than trying to clean up the issues in the future. For backup, I'd already found a great location where another pizza place had shut down. I bought it and had it up and running in 2 months. The restaurant is takeout only, but the business is doing quite well. We told our parents and my sisters a few weeks ago, and so far everyone has been so supportive and excited. And I didn't want my brother-in-law to find out via Facebook. So I asked Avery to tell him just to keep it low so we can avoid the headache. He made lots of reservations in my fine dining restaurant throughout December under fake names for quite large parties, 15 to 8 people usually. My restaurant only requires a $2 deposit per person, so he'd been paying that and then just no showing for the reservation. His plan was that I would have to turn away genuine customers, where I would have the chance to make more money from them. He'd been doing this at peak times like the weekends, Thursdays and Fridays, and he even booked a party of 27 for a New Year's Eve special at the cost of $10 per head. He didn't even know that the website logs the IP address of the reservations. Not only that, but we could also readily find the name, location, and address of other personal information. When I confronted them, he says his friend wants to buy my restaurant, or else I'll continue seeing loss. He can't compete with us, and he's jealous, so he resorts to childish methods to get back into the game. We lost so much money because of this, but worst of all, it sends a message to the passerbyers that this place has changed so much that it's empty, even on holidays. Update number 2. Hey everyone, I had no idea that this thing would take off the way it did. I do have a bit of an update. I spent the night at my friend's house last night. This was planned before any of this, and this morning I woke up and saw all your comments and speculations. I took some time to reflect on the 2 main possibilities that you'll seem to have come up with. Either A, I can choose to either go all in and max out my cards to weather through what may or may not break out the storm, or B, I can choose to let Mark's friend buy me out and take over the restaurant. I don't trust my brother-in-law though, and I don't know whether I want to risk it all when I don't have solid proof that the light is at the end of the tunnel. I think my partner hearing the offer is an absolute must. If it blows him away, then I take it. If it's a low ball, then I don't know. The building, land, and all the supplies are fully owned by me. I know this guy can afford to buy me out, but I don't know what type of offer he's going to give. If it's low enough to get me out of the business and clear out my debt, I think it's worthwhile. I'd have to start up completely from scratch, and also thank you guys for the tips. I've emailed and called Google with direct proof that the poster is a competitor, and he didn't try to hide it. His Google account where he left the reviews also has a YouTube account where he posts ads for his restaurants, and showed them the proof that he is going against the Google policy. Some of you suggested having a lawyer write them, so perhaps it gets routed to Google's legal department and gets their attention and wheels spinning. But I don't want to spend money on this, so I kept flagging his review, kept asking Google to take them down, and maybe they actually will at some point. I also called Google Ads. They answered the phone because they want my money, and I told them I really want to start a campaign, but was, reluctant to do so because of the fake reviews I've gotten. Representation said she can't do anything, but just a week later a few reviews were gone, including my brother-in-law's. I can see a lot of questions about my wife. She's gotten into many arguments with Mark over the years, and they've gone long periods without talking. She even offered to cut out her brother, but I don't feel right explicitly asking her to do that. Update number 3. Last night, Avery called Mark for a sibling meeting at the favorite place. Sibling meetings are something that they've been doing since they were kids, where they would talk about things like convincing their parents to get them a pet or splitting the household chores, and they met for a brunch, and Mark immediately went on and said how weird it was that we did not get reservations for Christmas. She told him to drop the act and had a long conversation with him. I too called him yesterday and asked him to respect our space and our brand and the experience we tried to deliver and not bring in competitive dramas hereafter. I was almost fully manipulated by him and his threats, and I would never sell my hard-earned business. So when I said this, his first response was, "How much do you make again?" Well, I was mad and basically told him it's none of his business, and he starts going on about I was not mature enough. When I reacted in generally non-happy way, not anywhere near as bad as I would have. He says, "Are you sure you should have another restaurant with a temper like that? You're just proving my point." I don't know, I'm just so mad at this guy. I feel like he has nowhere to come from with those comments. He's the most immature 36-year-old I've ever met. I'm so glad that we live 3 hours apart because right now I just want to go off on him. Probably proving his point a little more and have thought of a half-dozen comebacks. This morning I went on a hike with my wife and in-laws, which is a family activity that we usually enjoy. I slept in and no one wanted to bother me, so they went without me. I figured that everyone had gone, but when I was eating my cereal, Mike came out of the kitchen and sat next to me. I figured he would have gone on the hike, but I guess not. He starts by apologizing for making fun of me and then said it was just a nervous tic of his when he didn't want to talk about something serious. He said that I can keep my restaurant if I want, and all he needs is for his restaurant to come out of debt. My wife has good customer service experience in graphic design, so she started tweaking things a bit for him in her spare time. She made him professional and modern-looking logos, got him listed on Google Index, and just updated all his restaurant profiles, etc. He asked her to take over the phone calls and emails, and she even did that. He's been calling my wife for every little thing, and where do I buy this item? How much do I charge for this? I overheard her telling him that she agrees to take over the phone call and emails for him. I'm a very passive person, and likely passive-aggressive admittedly. Based on the constant negative that he exudes, I grabbed the phone and told him that my wife absolutely would not be doing this anymore. That she was not going to help somebody in direct competition for customers that we both depend on for income. Avery says I'm just being dramatic at this point, and he won't really be competition because he doesn't seem to know what he's doing. And she feels bad for him. Update number 4. This is the final update by OP. Hey guys, just another update. I went with Avery to her cousin's birthday party last month. Most of his family was there, including his brother. So Avery, my mother-in-law, and I were talking at the party, and he asked in passing how my restaurant was doing. He then suggested I promoted his restaurant business on my YouTube channel, and I laughed it off, genuinely thinking it was a joke at this point. Later, I'm sitting with Avery and Mike. He comes to sit with us, makes a bit of small talk for a minute, then turns to me and says, "Yeah, so about the business thing," and starts pitching what would basically be an ad read. This made me uncomfortable because number one, we were at a 14-year-old's birthday party, and I was not trying to make a deal. Number two, he has no right to talk to me after all the stunts he pulled to bring my business down. I don't think he thought I was serious, but I am. Because I know my limits, and I don't want to have to put up with a 36-year-old advice giving me man-childness. But people were near, so I told him plainly that it's cool that he's working so hard on his failing business, but I will not advertise it. Well, that evening, I get a call from my mother-in-law. Mike had told her that I refused pretty harshly to help his restaurant out, and that he felt like I thought I was better than him. She told me to reconsider and that families should help each other out. Avery thinks it was fair of me to say no, and that it was immature of Mike to tell their mother instead of talking to me. I have a pretty good relationship with Avery's parents, and I don't want something as small as this to tarnish it. His ex-fiance's brother was engaged recently, and since Mark has never paid back a cent of what he had taken from her, I told him that catering his wedding was going to be the only way that he can get my help. I knew he would not agree to this deal. It was also something expressly offered, asking them, and I quote, what they wanted to eat, and discussing the permit and kitchen space logistics. When they let him know, his excuse was that it'll be too hard. They wanted the sentimental food from the old restaurant, literally a taco bar. I'm also a food businessman, so I know what that would entail and was collaborative with him the whole way. I told him that the deal is off now. It was so satisfying in my soul, and I definitely felt like a chess master at that moment when he practically ran away from inside as he could not take the idea, which means he himself stopped him from receiving help. He opted out of the deal. He had to sell his restaurant. This happened a few days ago, and because of no rebranding could save his business since he lost all his money as well, he's now living at his parents' house. Yeah, so that's how it's going.